Okay, is it working now? Yes, there we go. Robert, can you hear me?
I can.
We're in a weird voice channel. We're in the YouTube subscriber channel. It doesn't matter, but they're all the same.
I don't
But
know why that is.
it's just another one that someone else might drop into, but it's not a problem. Right, let me just close down some stuff. I've got weird stuff making noises in the background. There we go, it's fixed. I'm running too many programs on too many different PCs. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I am okay. Right, good. My camera's
Staying
working.
busy?
So busy. So busy.
Too busy?
But no, it's all good. Just a long weekend at Silverstone this weekend, but it's good. Having a good time. Hopefully it's going to be dry tomorrow, but it's looking very wet at the moment. Right, I'm just loading up my data. What did I do before? Let's add it to the week ago data. Oh, I was quicker last week. I've gone slower. Oh, that's a shame.
So have I.
I'll do a new. I'll make a new thing, and I'll use this week's because you never know. The conditions might be slightly different or whatever.
Slightly different, yeah.
Let's just go with the most recent one. Yeah, so I tried that setup that I sent you, and it wasn't any better. I found it too oversteery. So I'm just running the super the Nurburgring fixed setup at the moment. I'm just making our little session here. Nurburgring GP. Super Formula. Yeah, this is tough. This track, it feels like the tyres don't bite. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. So we just have to work hard. Okay, so since you're already out there, I would say just carry on for the moment. I'm just going to jump on board with you. I'm just going to check that the audio is recording this week. I found out what the problem was. Yeah, it's all working fine this time, so. How many laps have we done? 3. How many did it take me to get to a decent one? 6 laps it was before I was really happy, so let's do 6 flyers.
Okay. Go.
And I found a lot of time in that corner by just making sure I was accurate. I spent the whole of my run letting the car go a bit wide. And then the first time I was really careful and made sure I stayed tight to the inside, I gained a chunk of time. That was nice and tidy through there.
Nope. Wide.
It's so annoying when you go wide through there because you can't do anything about it once it starts. You just have to ride it out, but you know it's losing time.
That was terrible. Got a little out of control. Too fast.
Oh. Do you want to see if we can do one more? The tyres might cool down by the time you get to turn 1. Oh, it's so annoying when the when I think the rears just overheat and then it's just like ice, isn't it?
Ruined my lap.
And once it starts, it just gets worse. Okay, so what do we get down to? 38.0. So just gonna compare it to the last time. Are the tyres feeling like the temperature's back under control?
Yeah, it's back under control.
Do you want to just do one more, just to see if you can have a bit more of a stable Sector 1?
Nope.
Okay, that's all right. We can go with what we've got for the moment anyway. I know you've done 37s before anyway, but maybe we should just look at, see if there's any obvious areas just to stamp out.
Should I pull it up?
Yeah, if this one's not going to be any good, then bin it somewhere. I know we're going to go quite a lot quicker. So just hop out and I'll grab that data. And I know you've got better data than that from before.
Frustrating. This track is killing me.
See, I think the track is great. It's just this car on this track doesn't seem to want to bite into the surface. It really feels like it's skating along the surface.
Yeah.
Right, we want this one. And let's just swap us around. Okay. Let's have a look here. Right, so where's the obvious places on? this is just the one best lap of this run, obviously.
Right.
Right. So, on this particular one, where did we give away the most time? Okay, so literally turn 1 alone is 3/10, so that's an easy win. So we can find 3/10 there just by essentially not slowing it down quite as much. Interesting. Look, you turned in quite a lot earlier than me there, so you kind of peel on into turn 1 quite early, and then obviously you have to slow down a bit more in the middle because of it. So I go a little bit wider. We both end up on exactly the same entry line, pretty much into turn 2, but I'm coming at it from just a wider point. So I think you can maybe sacrifice a little bit of exit distance on turn 1, and what I mean by that is sacrifice a bit of you're already trying to sacrifice it, but I mean you can bin that off and just compromise the second corner a little bit more in exchange for slightly more speed into turn 1. But definitely our turning points are interestingly different. Look at the different trajectory down the end of the straight there on that lap.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going kind of dead straight towards the turning point where the track kinks, and you're kind of following the edge of the track slightly more. There's not a lot of time in that, obviously. There's, a hundredth or two. But it's the way that then funnels you in a bit early. So maybe there's something to be said for waiting a moment longer. But the main thing is we just don't want to quite slow it down as much for turn 1. But that's just this lap again. It might have been different on other laps.
Yeah.
Where's the other big one? So that's the first big step. This one here is the next. Okay, right. So our kind of longish hairpin. What did you do on this one? Okay, so we were just a little bit slow through the middle. You're in the right gear. Let's have a what? Interesting. Look, same again. Look how the red line dives in really early. So the red line's gone in quite a lot earlier than my one.
It's because I think, I mean, this is a guess, but I have little confidence in the car sticking. So
yeah.
I feel like I'm cutting into my turning points a little bit sharper, because I feel like if I wait and lean on it, I'm going to lose the car.
Yeah.
Not necessarily lose it as in oversteer all the way off, but I'll end up going wide on the exit of the car. I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have.
Yeah, I understand. It's quite a normal thing when you're feeling less confident in the car to kind of pinch the entries a bit. It's a really I don't know why it's the case, but it is a thing that you see quite a lot. On this lap, at least, the data shows that you can probably wait a bit longer. Let's watch it from your onboard and see how it actually looked. Because you might say to me, oh no, on this particular lap I went in really early or something like that. In fact, let's look at turn 1 first. Yeah, okay. You can see if I go in slow-mo, you start peeling off now. So we're already aiming for the inside, and you can see like if we were to draw like a natural line on from where you're aiming now, it's kind of like straight off over here. That's really interesting. I didn't notice that when you were driving. And obviously you make the apex, but you've had to slow down that little bit more. That's interesting. So where is it you begin peeling off? So we've just gone past the white line across the track here. And it's kind of level with the bluish line over here. That's where you really start to come off. That's an interesting one, that. I'll keep an eye on that on the next ones. Let's see if I'm doing similar. And actually, by contrast, where you were kind of parallel to that curb, I'm actually
going out left towards it.
Yeah, I'm not even at the curb because I'm coming. You see where like the track curves to the right. I'm trying to drive a straight line to the turning point from here. I've never really thought about it, but yeah, I'm going straight to where I feel the turning point is. I'm not even out at the edge properly here. You're actually further out. But even though I've started further away from the edge, I'm not really turning in at all yet. And we're at the blue bit where your one was. I'm carrying on at that little bit further down and then making the turn. It's quite significant actually from there, but it just means it's just an easier line in. And then also, I'm not caring so much about trying to stay tight on the exit. I'm like, yeah, we can go all the way over here. Because I don't really want to go all the way back wide. I only want to get to the middle anyway. Anyway, right, sorry, let's look at your like long right-hander as well. I really like that we don't just have to rely on data and that we've also got the positioning. This might explain some of the... It doesn't look... Yeah, it doesn't look to me like you're going crazy early, to be honest. Let's look on the onboard. Maybe slightly. I mean, that doesn't look... That actually really doesn't look bad at all. The only thing that I'd say that you can see from this is the way you know you've overslowed it slightly is the way you actually go up on the curb here. That little bit there where the car allows you to get up on the curb, that just suggests that you did everything, you were really trying to get it stopped. The lock-up didn't help. But actually, the car's rotating pretty well. And then we just it's only there that you kind of come off the brakes. You see where the wheel stops locking. And actually, by that point, we're going so slow, it lets you go up on the curb. So, and that, I think, probably slows you down more on the exit, because that's obviously stopping you getting on the gas. So
that's not I will say that's not a typical line.
Yeah,
through there, but
for sure. Yeah, I think it was like just a culmination of that lock-up and you like just trying to get it stopped. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Maybe a very slightly later turn, but it's not a major drama. Let's look at any other areas. Where else is there like a step? So we've had turn 1, we've had that, and then it's kind of just gradual through here. You're flat out through there, so you're not really losing a lot of time. Why is the speed? Why is your speed... We're both flat out, but your speed drops slightly. I've got like 4 kilometers an hour. I'm just like gradually pulling. Why is that? What are we doing differently here?
Yeah, we're both flat out, right?
Yeah, we're both flat out. You've got a slightly slower exit to here. So this is where some of it is. This slight delay on the throttle is why... Yeah, I think you just carry this deficit the whole way. Look, it's like that slightly dodgy exit to the long old hairpin seems to have like harmed you all the way. Yeah, it's just that slight delay to full throttle. Because there's no extra wind or anything. But yeah, it's like the whole way you just carry that.
Sometimes I notice
kilometers.
if you take too much curb on the Schumacher S there, that I usually don't take curb on the left, but sometimes on the right, depending on my positioning, I will or won't.
Yeah.
But I noticed that if you get too much of it, there I did it perfectly. So
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this is all fine. No, and I was just checking to see whether or not you were losing time from scrubbing through there, but really, the gap stays pretty constant all the way to here. In fact, it closes down, obviously, by the end of the straight, but yeah, what starts off as a 7k difference, then it's 5 by there, 3 by there. It's back up to 5 here, interestingly. So maybe you are pinching it slightly tighter
Did I miss
there.
a shift?
Oh yeah, look, no, you went up early. That's why. Look, you went up to 6th there, and I delayed it to there. So you went up to 6th in the Schumacher S there. So maybe you had a bit too much like drag because you were still turning. But the time, that's not really the majority of it. It didn't help that, but you still had a little bit of a deficit anyway. So that's just a gradual loss, I think. If we can fix that exit, then that's going to help that. Then where's the next one? Just here is a bit of a step. Okay, this is a bit more of an obvious difference in our technique here. I'm doing these little teeny brakes, look, these kind of miniature trail brakes, and you've just got a slightly more significant one, which just brings your speed down a bit more. Let's watch it. Okay, so you got a bit wide here. You didn't have long to get back across, and that put you a little bit wide on the turn-in. Okay. So it's just kind of, these are just all things feeding into the next thing. Yeah, I don't think you want to end up out there, do you? You can probably aim to use a bit more of that curb there, and that'll stop you going wide. I just want to see.
In theory, I was.
Yeah, and I know it's easy to say this stuff. It is actually really, really hard to coax this car to where you want it to go. Just looking into this. Okay, I've used a bit more of this curb into the long hairpin, and where you apexed here, you went straight to there. I'm definitely delaying it till about here. That's why I got a better exit, because I'm not apexing till quite late in that corner. I didn't even realise it. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it when I watched yours. Yeah, it's quite a late apex for me. Interesting. Okay, but that really helps then all the way here, and yeah, similar to you, not using any curb there. I wonder whether there's any here. Yeah, little bit. And it just stops you having to use that. It's really subtle little differences. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Right, let's get back to yours. Oh, if I click on the right lap. Where are we? Yeah, so it's kind of a case of just tidying up a little bit of accuracy. You're using this, which is good. I wouldn't encourage you to use much more because you will risk an off track. But it's just forcing it to touch that curb. That then buys you that exact same width on the exit. It's like that's exactly the distance that you want. That'll then just help you get into here, all the way out here a bit earlier. That'll angle you into here a little bit nicer. You won't have to stay on the brakes as long. And then we won't quite have that difference in minimum speed. Okay. Again, I know this is all easier said than done. Then the final couple of corners.
I wish there was some obvious thing like, oh, you're really screwing up here and you're losing a second. But it doesn't seem like it.
No, it's all pretty subtle, isn't it? And then, but I tell you what though, there is definitely a trend. You are definitely turning in earlier than me into a lot of these corners. So I think there's something to be said for just delaying. I mean, look, your brake shape is like perfect. It's pretty bang on. You're doing the same thing. Somehow, despite being on different rigs, different sides of the world, completely different pedal sets and everything, we're managing to press the pedal in like almost exactly the same way. It's just, you're just doing it a fraction harder for a fraction longer. You have to zoom in to see, but it's like this little area here where I've done it and then started to bleed off more dramatically, and you just keep it on longer, which you have to because of the angle you're going in at, to be fair. If you just delayed it slightly longer, you'd just be scrubbing off the speed with the front tyres just a little bit more gradually. There we go. There is definitely some time there as well. What is it? Even in that last corner, there's a couple of tenths, maybe 3 tenths. But
how much did I lose through the? I forget the word in English.
Chicane? This one?
Yeah.
What's the non-English word? Variante? Yeah. Okay, I remembered.
Bravo.
What do they call it in German? I think it's chicane.
That I don't
Something
know.
like. I think it's chicane. I think it's like SH. Anyway, this is the NGK chicane here. Yeah. How much are you losing? 1.6. 3 tenths maybe. It doesn't look like it on the data, does it? But I guess because it's a slow corner. I mean, look, the line is again very slightly earlier. It's really interesting. Like if there's one trend, it's the slight earlier turning. But you're down at...
I guess it goes back to what I kind of said, that I don't feel the confidence in the car sticking.
Yeah.
And so I feel like,
But,
I mean, probably not the right thing to do, but I feel like, okay, I've got to start this turn because I'm not going to stick through the corner.
But logically, if you think about it, if you stay straighter for longer, you'll be going slower when you make your turn. I think it's like a subconscious thing where you're like, I've got to just turn in gently now. I best start the turn now because it's going to be difficult to do the turn, so I need as long as possible to do it. But actually what you end up doing is arriving at the inside on a tighter, more difficult angle. You know, like you can... It's pretty inarguable that the red line there has a more acute, sharper angle to try and negotiate because you've turned in early. So I think maybe the difficulty is you're not doing it in a horrible, dramatic way. It's just like that turn one was quite different. Where else are we? That one, you just missed the apex, so and you knew that, so that one doesn't really count. What about down here? And that one, I don't know, what happened on this one? Okay, we haven't really looked at this. You've actually gone in too quick there. Okay, so you've tried to be too brave into that fast left in the first half of the lap. That's why you've gone deep there. So there's some time there straight away. There's time there just by... Well, actually, having said that, you're faster way in and going slightly wider. 0.543, and then let's take it to here. It's 0.543. It's exactly the same. Okay, there's not any time there. There's not any time. That's really funny. The only reason there might be some time is this corner is now much harder for you because you're so wide. Yeah. So, but that is hilarious. We take it to here and it's essentially the same. But then obviously you struggle to then get it turned in for this one. So I'd still argue maybe my compromise is better. If they're both the same in terms of lap time, but my one gives me a nicer line into here, then it is probably a worthwhile compromise. But yeah, anyway, right, sorry. So I was looking for clues of you turning in early. That
no,
I mean,
appreciate
no, that one doesn't count. Yeah, so there again, there a little bit. They're slightly, not a lot. That was more just that you didn't hit the curb. Why didn't we make it to the curb? What was the reason we didn't make it to the curb? Yeah, maybe slightly too quick on the way in the braking zone there. A very slightly early turn, very slightly too quick in the braking zone. And again, I know this is one sample set. Maybe if you'd done another 5-6 laps, you wouldn't be doing this anyway. So maybe it's not worth dwelling on this too much. We should go in for another run, just with in mind, not artificially making your life harder than it needs to be by making the angles of the corners tighter than they need to be, because the car's hard enough as it is without that.
Yeah.
So, but what I don't want you to do is delay it massively and then turn in really late. So you're not far off. It's just a little tweak. The only one that's slightly, significantly different is where you were kind of apexing on this one. The map doesn't show it very much here, but when you look at your actual lap here, the difference between wrong bit. The difference between where you apex effectively there. I know you don't, but it's because you've locked up or not, run a bit wide. That seems to be where you were aiming for, and then you have another apex there. I think you can almost like deliberately miss the first one, stay on this concrete slightly longer, deliberately miss the first one in order to really cut back to this one. Instead of having this angle here, you can be already aimed back at the inside, roughly where this drain is. Is that a good guess? Yeah. Let's just, in fact, if I just go up in the air, we'll just give you like a slightly better view of where exactly on the corner is it. So I think it's like there. I'll just bring up mine and then we'll see, and then I'll release you again to do some more. I might be a bit too zoomed out here. I'll zoom back in. That's where I'm closest, just there. So yeah, it is, if I zoom right in, not that far. Yeah, I mean, there's a few of these drains, so you can't use the drains as a reference point. But it's essentially just over halfway round is where. And then you kind of have a long apex and then release. So it's about halfway round where you meet up, stay there, release on the exit. That then will buy you another couple of tenths on that straight. But yeah, in general, we just want slightly later turn-ins, that's all. Right, I'm going to get this view back to normal somehow, and then we should drive.
All right.
Right, okay. I'm back on board with you.
Okay. Find my cursor.
But yeah, there's no escaping the fact this is difficult, this track, with this car.
I find it difficult.
I don't know whether
normally I feel like with practice, I'm not going to be faster than you, but I feel like, okay, I've taken all the big chunks, and when I get all the big chunks out, I'm within a second.
Yeah.
And here I feel like I've taken all the big chunks out, and I'm still 3 seconds off.
Yeah, I can see it and feel it, because I feel it when I'm driving. Like, I'm finding it really difficult. I'm having to like live on my wits a bit around here. I can't just relax into it and get into a rhythm. I'm like always on edge on this track in this car, like saving little slides constantly. The rear's always trying to overheat.
Yeah, and it's so easy to throw it out on an oversteer, snap oversteer.
I don't know whether it's the iRacing like asphalt model for this track, or I've never felt it particularly bad in other cars. So as always, give yourselves a couple of laps grace before you start getting pissed off that you're not quicker than before, because it takes me a few laps in this car. I'm just going to remind myself. Yeah, so I was still a second off after 2 flying laps. I was a second off of what I ultimately got down to. So don't expect it to be amazing. I think maybe part of this kind of feature we're talking about, where it seems to skate across the surface, maybe part of that is that it takes a while to warm the tyres up on this track. I mean, it doesn't take long to overheat the surface if you spin the wheels, but I think it takes a while to build that core temperature that gives you the grip.
And I noticed that the outdoor temperature is really hot. I mean, it's really cold.
Yes, it is 18 degrees. I just set this off the official session, but yeah, it is really cold. It's probably overly warm in reality for this time of year at the Nurburgring. It's not far off snowing there right now, but still. For iRacing, that's very cold.
Missed the apex.
Yeah, I saw you try and delay the turn in. I just think we didn't quite get the braking done soon enough. It's very tough to get that nailed because you're arriving at a very, very high speed downhill.
Just about lost the rear. A little exaggerated on that last turn. I was trying to delay my turn in, but that didn't really work. Oh, this is terrible.
Okay, so just as like a thing to keep in mind, don't forget to do the braking whilst you're. I know that sounds really obvious, and obviously you're not forgetting to do the braking, but don't let that become secondary because you're trying to perfect the line. You still have to get it slowed to that same kind of speed, even if it's not like exactly the same as before.
Don't forget to brake, idiot.
I didn't say idiot. Okay, now that was a nicer, like that kind of line you took there looked more like I'm expecting it to be when I'm driving. That doesn't mean you've perfected it or carried the maximum speed in, but I think you'll now get used to carrying a little bit more speed because you're not having to go in as tight. You've got longer to slow it down effectively. Try and get very deliberately on the first apex curb of that chicane. Not the tall part, obviously, just the flat bit, but make sure you don't go wide of it because there's a lot of lap time from that extra distance. Okay, nice apex.
I don't know why I missed a shift there. My shifts are all screwed up.
Yeah, I think we were a gear lower than normal through that whole tight section.
I was a gear higher, and then I went
overcompensated.
down, went a gear lower. You're gonna have to put this on the web as like the retard student.
I had my driver today in real life, when he missed a gear, literally brought the car to a stop on a live track because he was confused as to why it wouldn't go into gear. I was like, you have to keep moving. Okay, that looked a bit more flowing through there. That was a nicer little section.
I was kind of using your bouncing brake technique.
Okay, yeah. Make sure we touch the first apex curb here. That's your focus. And you can use slightly more than that, and slightly more on the right. You had a few inches on either side there. But I obviously don't want you to jump off the tool section. Okay, good. We're in the correct gear this time. This is going to be much better through here. Okay, neat. This is looking a bit more comfortable now. I'm enjoying the ride now, this section. And your apex there is good. I can't see your delta, obviously, but that looks nicer to me.
I gained like 2/10 on that.
Okay.
I'm gonna lose it all right here.
Yeah, make sure we hit that apex curb of the 90-degree left. That's all. It'll just set you up for the whole of the rest of that section. And again, flat part of the curb on both sides is like the main focus here. And again, you can probably use slightly more and at a fraction higher speed than that as well. That's nice and neat through there. That's all good. Okay, let's do a few more like this until we get some good muscle memory, because now we're nearly back down to the best kind of laps we've done today. Well controlled.
I slowed too much.
Yep. Well recognised. It's good that you immediately know that. I know you got the delta, but if nothing else, this will make the other tracks feel easier.
Yeah.
This is like running a 10k when actually you're only going to be competing in the 5k. Okay, nice little flow through there again. Okay, so this time, give yourself the permission to carry a little bit more speed through this chicane. Like, you can just risk it a little bit more. Not a lot, but like 5 miles an hour. Just like release the car into it. That was better. That looked nicer. So if we can do the chicane again like that on a really, and the rest of the lap is good, that would be great. I'll allow it. Okay, that's tidier. So same again through this chicane. You don't need to go any quicker than last time. That was pretty nice before. Good stuff. It's been quite a long run. Let's do one more.
Okay.
I know we've not gone any quicker than before, but we can look at why and what was better. Nice start to the lap. Good job. That was really good. Good. Nice apex. Yeah, really good. Really, really nice. Okay, that was a massive improvement in the end. Really good. And you know what? And it looked like it. That lap looked like a much, much better lap as well. So let's bank that one and have a look at that data. That was good. That all seemed to come together on that lap.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a bunch of little teeny corrections, and I'm a fair amount faster.
Yeah, they really add up. They really, really add up. I'm just going to watch that back first of all. Okay, so you were doing a bit more of the like driving straight to the turn-in point, and what you're not doing is going all the way wide. And I don't think you have to do it. It's a really weird one because the track's so wide at this point. I find this in real life as well here. You actually don't have to be all the way out here. It's a really, really odd. It's almost like more space than you need. But this seemed to work pretty well. We'll look at the data comparison in a minute. I just want to see your placement in these corners. That was nice. So you carried good entry speed there without losing the rear at all. And really tight. A couple of times previously you hadn't been right up against that curb. That was nicer, neater. Nice amount of curb here as well. Really nice. Just like accurate. Short shift again, good. Lots of curb there. So it's like really piecing. You have to do that. You have to do that. You know, you have to tick all these boxes. You've run wide but not too wide. You haven't got so much oversteer here on throttle that you lost the rear because the tyres were overheating. So that means you can carry good speed into the next one. We're pretty wide there, but you obviously maximised it. We'll have a look at the data in a sec on this. This is clearly, I can see what you're aiming for now. Like, it looks like you're doing what I'm aiming to do as well, which is kind of get near the inside, but get really near the inside from here.
Yeah.
And just so you can get on the power earlier, that's good. The one thing I'd say is from the audio, it sounded like you went up to 6th gear. There.
Probably,
yeah, I can hear it. Like, yeah, you changed, like, here. And I think you've got more revs and you can wait till there and then you won't hold the car back as much because you're in the middle of a corner. It's a tiny difference, but add that to the list of boxes that you have to tick. Let's have a look at this one. So we want to use some of the entry grasscrete. Yeah, good. Want to touch the curb here. Yeah, I mean, there's more. There is more, but, there's a little bit more here and there's a little bit more here. But again, that's like the next stage of perfecting it. And there's a bit more there. If you carry a little bit more speed from here to here and you force yourself out up to the curb, that's fine. It's only when you're out on the green that you're a bit too far. So even that left, there's a bit more to come for sure. That's really nice into there. The way you kind of hooked up with the inside. Yeah, and I think you can get on the power slightly earlier. Once you're here and the downforce is like kicked in, I've been really taking the mickey here and just planting my foot, and it pushes you a tiny bit wide up onto that curb. Tiny bit wide, but you've kind of gained the momentum already. It doesn't seem to just spit you off the track. So start trying to like risk it a bit on throttle down that hill. It seemed to always work out all right for me. And then, oh yeah, and on this lap, I don't think you did the chicane the best you've done it. I think we missed this curb slightly. Yeah, we were a little bit off. We turned in maybe just slightly too late on this one. But you obviously did well enough around the rest of the lap. I think we want to be going in now. Yeah, it's like slightly delayed. You see you're like turning back at it. So we're just a fraction off. But yeah, we want to be like there. If we just move your car a foot to the left, then your angle will be perfect. So that's better though. But you can see you're just more pressed up against it because you've come from there rather than a foot to the left. So, but well done for not letting that screw the lap up, because you were still very tidy through there. It's just, it could have been a tiny bit quicker on that better line. What happened here? There's a little bit of room here as well. So there's still little bits you can shave off, but I think that's where the next bit of lap time's going to come from. Those little, those tiny little extra bits. Okay, right. Let's see.
I find that last corner a little difficult. Sometimes I'm able to do it quickly in third. Sometimes I need second to help me.
I think I'm always in the same gear, but oh no, that's not the right driver. That's Phil Bradpot. That isn't you. There we go.
Well, I was going to ask you, how do I find, when you make notes on driver 61, how do I go back and see them?
When you go to analyze, and so say the last one we did, this one here, they should just be down the side, like that.
Right. It's just a matter of clicking on the right.
Yeah, so when you go analyze, like, and if I go to this one, the one that we're in now, well, I haven't made any notes yet, but they should appear. Right, what, I haven't added your most recent one. That's what I was trying to do. Let's do that. Oh, yeah, that's why, because it's showing up all weird. I assume it's that one. Yeah, here we go. That's what I was looking for, and it's this one. Right, let's make that green. Let's have a look. Okay, so I'm just going to look at the delta first. Yeah, so basically everywhere. You're just quicker everywhere than before. Similar areas are the places you're losing time, just to a lesser extent. Like when you look here through the chicane, it's still, but that's because on this lap I don't think you nailed the chicane. But instead of losing, what was that? So you go 1.6 and then you're 1.9. It's actually a similar level of loss there. I think if we looked at the lap before, we'll hold fire on that corner, because up until then you're only 1 second down, and then when you cross the line there's a half a second gone. So there's half a second just in those final two corners, and 3/10 of it is the chicane, and then there's like 1 more tenth into the last corner. So that chicane is still a bit of a sticking point, because 1 second is perfectly respectable. To do that whole lap, especially when you're finding it hard, and to get to here and it's only 1 second, that's not bad. It's that extra half is going to put you down the grid a little bit. But just before we look at the rest of that lap, let's just see on a different one of your laps, whether on the previous one actually, whether you lost less than that. So here it was this lap, I think. Let's add it to here. And then we'll look at the whole of your good one. So if I look at this one, yeah, you can see the pink and the red get closer to each other there. So pink is the one I think you did the chicane quite well. In fact, let's just zoom in on the chicane. There's quite a lot of lines here.
Yeah.
Oh god, there's too many lines. So you go from, if we say here, you're 2 seconds down. Yeah, okay. It's what you were 1/10 better on that pink lap through the chicane, and you're losing 3, so you were a little bit closer. But yeah, it's not terrible, but there's still time there. Let's just get rid of the pink one because that isn't a good one. The rest of the lap was good on the green. So let's have a look corner by corner. So yeah, just for a start, the hairpin was just better. Interestingly, you didn't really turn that much later. I guess you were just narrower to start, weren't you, on that one? But at this point here, despite being narrower on the approach, you actually were you were wider as you swung in. But there's still quite a big difference to the blue. So there's probably a little bit more time there. How much time are we losing there now? You've gone from losing 3/10 to just like 1.5 roughly. So it's still an improvement. And what's happened here? We then go slightly slower into here, but must be a tighter line. Yeah, you're just narrower. So although you're a little bit slower, you're not losing that much time. Yeah, compared to the red, look how much wider you went. So actually, although you've gone slightly slower, because you're travelling less distance, you haven't really lost out very much. You're 0.189. Yeah, just at this point here in the middle, the red has kind of caught you back up. But then you pull back away again by taking a shorter line on the exit. Essentially, not a whole lot wrong there. Although we're 3/10 down by here, so it's not like there's no time there. But it's not most of the time. I'm trying to think what we can do to sharpen that up, because it would be nice to exit turn 2 and not have already lost 3/10. I think it's what we were saying here. I think there's just a little bit of time by staying wider longer. So let's just go back to the beginning of this one. Yeah, to be honest, on this lap you were quite far from the edge, weren't you? So it's just that, and obviously that then just pushes you a little bit deeper than you probably would be. That's all. And yeah, so that I think that's what's happened there. So just make sure you're giving yourself a little bit more room. I know it doesn't matter that much, but looking at the data, actually, that is one of the places. Yeah, and actually it's just here where you're starting to angle in. I think we could just be straight a fraction longer. That's all. And I think that's going to be part of your 3/10. But anyway, right, so let's go back to the good news. Okay, so this whole section here...
There is no good news.
There is, it's just not yet, not at this part of the lap. So red's got back ahead of us by here. Oh, that's because red's gone in too quick into here. Okay, because you then immediately come back at him here. Essentially, you kind of... Remember, red was the fastest lap you'd done today up until this lap. So it's not like you're comparing against a rubbish lap. But it's in the next part of the lap, actually, you really make the difference. So here. So let's zoom back out. Yeah, okay. That's good. So this is good. You know, we spoke about this particular corner. This is one of the corners that we wanted to make an improvement. And that's like bloody way better. It's like way better through there. So you've gone from losing... So you're 0.8. You've gone from losing like 3/10 or more to basically staying the same, maybe losing 0.5, but it's way better. And then the green is above the red all the way on the exit here as well. Let's look at that early upshift we were talking about. There it is. Yep, so it was early. Not as bad as the red was, but it's still quite early. So just don't hold yourself back with like resistance when dropping the revs when you've still got a low steering angle on. You've got the one thing Garage 61 doesn't show us is revs. And it's annoying actually because it'd be quite useful to see revs or power band or something like that. But I know I'm travelling slightly quicker than you, and I still manage to delay the gear change until I'm out of that corner. So you definitely can basically. So you don't need to worry about that. Right, then what happens in this next section? Because remember when we watched the video, I said I think maybe we left a little bit of time on the table here because you didn't go all the way wide. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. Look, you've actually slowed it down quite a lot more on the way into there. But then you've been better through the next one. So you were way better through the right-hander, a little bit worse in the left-hander. But that tracks with what we thought. Because look how tight the green's gone. The green's managed to exit there. That showed you that here was slow because of that. So if you can nail that line, like you did on that one, just from here, just get on the gas and let it flow, then that's going to be some extra time. Or it's not even get on the gas, actually, because look, you are on the power earlier than on the others. It's more a case of don't slow it down as much. But that's some time there. How much is it? Let's have a look. So 0.828, and then we net come out here. It's only a tenth, actually. That's not terrible, is it? It's just, again, you're not looking for that many tenths at this point. Yeah. If we rule out the final chicane, you're only looking for 1 second. So that 1/10 there is a tenth of the way to being right on top of it. This is good. Don't change much about that right-hander. That's nice there now. You're just like way different to what you're doing before. That's much, much better. You know what I said about take the mickey with the throttle application? You see here, there it is. There's the difference there. So you've matched me like into the corner and mid-corner, and then you have this little, you doubt yourself just here, and then you come off a bit slower because of it. So that there, that's a small area to gain, because that's then going to help you all the way down the next straight. Because if we start at the beginning of the straight, you're 0.960 down, and then yeah, we've lost a tenth or so just driving in a straight line because of that exit. So there's another one of those tenths. And then we've already spoken about that chicane. We can just go through there quicker. Let's look at final corner. Okay, yeah, final corner was better than before. You actually went in a bit too fast on this one. But when we spoke about delaying the turn, that you have, it's just still not. It's a bit like turn 1. You've moved in the right direction, but there's actually quite a lot of a difference still between what I'm doing. Not saying that what I'm doing is perfect, but it seems to be allowing me to carry a bit more mid-corner speed for sure. Yeah, you're just arriving here at a more acute angle again, and you can see where it's then pushing you wide in the middle. So I know you know what you were saying about that last corner is quite difficult to do it the same every time and to choose different gears. I reckon you'll be more consistent if you just force yourself to wait. In fact, let's do a little comparison visually, because I haven't really watched myself into that last corner. Let's see what your car's looking at on the way in. I mean, that feels like what I'm doing, but it's clearly slightly different. So we've got this seam on the track we can look at. I'll look at it from outside. Okay, right. Doesn't look bad. That's you know, if I didn't see the data, I wouldn't know we were doing anything particularly different there. But it's going to be all about where you peel off that curb. Let's have a look. Okay, right. So when you look at this,
okay, Phil, 10 minutes to
this
go.
piece of like cracked asphalt down here. If I just see where my car is in relation to that, I'm staying on this white line. The cracked asphalt is working its way across my car, and it gets to halfway between the nose and the front right tyre. And then it's difficult to put a exact point on it. I cross back across that seam at this thin bit of curb here, this thin red bit. There we go. That's something. Right, and now let's compare that to where yours is. This might unlock a bit of final corner pace. Right, so we cross back across that seam. Yeah, so you remember how that seam was like here on my car, all the way down here? And I crossed back across it there. So you can now you can see how much earlier you're going in. And whereas at first glance, it didn't feel much different to me. Watching this back now, like that's where I'm going in, where my cursor is. It's significantly earlier, and I think that's why it's feeling like it's pushing on, having to go down an extra gear, and the main thing is that minimum speed is much lower because of it. So there we go. That's what we're going to change. That's what we'll do different. And what's really interesting is when you look down at the steering, it looks like I'm turning earlier than you here. The blue line's lower, but what it actually is if we zoom in a bit more. The red and the green line are turning in here very, very gently, but then when we get into the actual turning point, you're forced to kind of turn less because although if you turn more than that, you're going to be at the inside way too early, you know. So actually, my steering angle into that corner is more of an obvious turn, like one turn, whereas you're edging in gently and then having to hold off how much lock you actually give it into the middle. So there we go. There's some time there for sure. That's another little bit. Okay, so what are our focus points? Turn 1. Let's just zoom back. We'll just go through it one more time on the video. Right, so turn 1, contrary to what I said a minute ago at the beginning of this review, just go a bit wider and delay it again. You delay that turn in more because we've seen on the data that turn 1 for sure, the green line is still edging in quite a lot earlier. That's going to unlock some speed there. And don't feel like you have to hold it as tight. You can just flow wider out to here because you've got time to get back to where you want to. Look, even though you keep it tighter than me here, you still end up earlier into the next one anyway. So you might as well have let it run wider on the exit there because then you can sweep back across to the right. So that's the first thing to think of. Then this is just fiddly and crap. So let's not worry about this other than just be accurate. Try and be as accurate as you can, like you were here. You know, using that curb. It looked nice to me. Even though the lap time didn't look much different to the red, I preferred what you were doing there. So keep doing that. Then, what was the next bit? Okay, this is much improved. There's a tiny bit more you can wait longer on the entry, but dramatically better. So there's not a whole lot different to do there. It's this bit where there's a significant drop. So don't underdrive into that 90 left. You can brake slightly late. You can see you braked a little early, 3304. It's only 5 meters, but it's 5 meters and it's braking early and quite hard, and then we stayed on that bit longer. So compared to the blue, I mean, you were quite significantly more on here. So let it flow wide. Hit that curb, but let it flow wide. Carry that speed, but that's good. And then take the mickey on the throttle application here. Once you've got it turned in, don't have this. Where are we on here? Just here. Don't try not to have this little kind of S-shaped throttle. If you have to delay slightly to get on the power, so you can then go straight to full power, then do that. But you've got like a little bit of an early application, then you're like, oh shit, wait, now we'll go again, and that then just hurts you down the next straight. Final chicane and last corner. Oh, if I can click the right bit. I'll write these notes now actually. Final chicane. Don't underdrive it on the way in. You actually went in late. Oh, we saw it on the video, didn't we? You turned in a tiny bit too late for that and just missed that apex. So just get on fully on that first curb. That then gives you the freedom to angle nicely into the second one. And don't feel like you have to hold the car back into there. I know it's tight and dangerous and fiddly and bouncy, but it almost feels worse if you go too slow. If you can there was one lap where I said just allow 5 miles an hour more, and it's hard to judge exactly that, but that's just what it feels like you needed. Just release the car into there, and it kind of flows through actually a bit more safely because you're not having to then accelerate hard early. You're just like rolling in because you're already going fast enough, and then you can just gently pick up the gas on the exit. But the main thing is hit that curb there, and that will then give you the space and the freedom to carry a bit more speed in the right. I know this stuff's obvious. And then final corner, everything we just looked at. So just delay it until you don't have to look at that crack on the asphalt. I know this isn't the right lap, but this is your lap before. But you can already see. Look how it's almost like you're being dragged in by that piece of that seam. Like here, like we're kind of following it. Yeah. And then we go in. Yeah, that's pretty obvious now when we look back at it. How we're artificially tightening that. Right. So let's just make those notes. Where did the notes go? There. Right. Okay. So turn 1, we're saying stay slightly further left and delay turn in a little more.
Turn 1 in a race must be a big, huge nightmare.
Yeah, there's a lot of crashes there. I've crashed into a car leaving the pits into that corner. I T-boned a 911 GT3 coming out of the pits on cold tyres because they just, as you come out the pits, the cars on track expect you to just be able to stop, and they just want to go straight to the apex because obviously there's a lot of time to be gained from hitting that apex rather than missing it because there's a car there. But if you're coming down that steep hill into turn 1, and you're on cold tyres and a car just sweeps to the apex in front of you, you're like, shit! And I just like locked up, went straight in the side of him. He actually carried on fine, but we were out of the race. Right, next section. So we're ignoring this for the moment because it's just, it's literally just too fiddly and one thing affects the next thing. You just have to do it as neatly as you've done it on your best lap, basically.
Right.
This, and same with this, we're not really talking about this, and you're also not really losing that much time through there. Okay, maybe well, I will make a note on this bit. Although you didn't really lose much time here, we probably did into the right-hander. So what I'm going to say is slightly... Oh, if I can spell properly. Just a little bit, just like where you're letting it really go wide, it's just making this one harder, that's all. And there's a small amount of time. It's not huge, but there's a tenth or so, and we're just looking for every one of those tenths. This is way better now. Let's give this a tick.
I think I'm using the end of the, I don't know what you can call them, the bricks or the cement.
Yeah.
Brick-shaped cement or something like that as my turn in there now.
This is one thing we didn't really mention. It's the reason it's important to get such a good drive out of here is because this is all downhill, and then from here it's all uphill. So it's even more important to get a good drive here. Fun side note, I sat here, in fact, if I rewind, about a year ago, I sat up on where this grandstand is on the left-hand side, up there, up on the hill, and watched Ralf Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel drive classic Formula 1 cars around here. Cool. It was really cool. They were coming up here, and then they were cutting through here and coming back around again and just doing like demo laps. Sounded so good. Ralf Schumacher drove his race-winning V10 Williams BMW from like 2003 around. It sounded amazing. Right, anyway, back onto this data. Okay, this, okay, this 90-degree left here. I know we've said this to death, but be accurate on the entry like you were. Oh, it's not grasscrete, actually, it's AstroTurf here. So AstroTurf on the outside to the curb on the inside, but don't sacrifice too much mid-corner speed. The way you'll be accurate there, the way you won't run too wide, is by hitting those first two curbs, not going in slower. And it's like you did both on this lap, on this green lap. You were like, in order to be really accurate, you used the entry curb, you used the mid curb, but you also went slower, and it was just too much. I mean, we're talking tiny fractions. Like it sounds really overly critical. You just gone in at like 3 miles an hour slower than before or something, but that's what causes that time loss. It's just having it neon green really highlights how much tighter you were on that lap. Right, final chicane. Release the car into here. There we go. Yeah, basically hit the full flat part of that curb.
Yep.
Not to the point where it jumps you, but all of the stuff up to that. Because on this lap, even on your best lap here, Yeah, I know we turned in a bit too late on this one. You don't typically do that, but that, because you turned in late, actually used quite a lot of it, but there's still a little bit more. You almost want to be like rubbing up against the curved bit without actually... You almost want to be like on that bit slightly without being any higher than that. And that's, you know, look at the extra width. That's like an extra tyre width or so. So yeah, that's what I mean by that. That then obviously gives you the freedom.
Session, P1.
How do I read my notes? There we go. That then just gives you the freedom to carry more speed through the rest of it. And then final corner, I'm going to make one more note here. Don't let the crack suck you in. There we go. I'm going to leave it like that. You know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. And all of those things are quite small, but like you saw on that lap you did, where you went from like a 38.1 or 38.0, and you found 7/10, and you weren't really doing anything different massively.
Yeah.
It was just doing everything like correctly on the same lap. This is like the next step of being ultra correct. That's all. And because it's so difficult to coax this car around without it being out of shape, I think you just have to focus on the details here and connect them all up, and don't let it, you know, don't get annoyed with it. Just like focus on the process of do all of these things one by one, and the lap time will then just come. I think that's basically it. But you've got way fewer steps now. Apart from that last chicane, this is definitely more of a gradual loss, whereas on the red one it was like step, like big chunks. So that's better for sure. So there we go. Right, I'm sorry it's such a hard combo.
That was good.
You've got another week. You've got another week to keep practicing it. So
I'm gonna need it.
I don't know if that's a good